Bonjour mes amis, bienvenue à les Bits and Bytes pour le film. C'est une review de cinéma. Let's see, le film sont les Razor's Edge. C'était mes vêtements pour un petit peu d'effet dramatique et let's see, car le setting, le choix de setting, ce sont Paris en France. Je mange une baguette. Je mange de franges. Je, j'ai un boire de vide. Et pour les spécial, un petit peu de opium. Mm. Mm. Okay, so now that I'm putting my scout beret to good use, you know, I don't have an insignia or anything like that to put onto it. It's somewhere around here, you know, the old scout. Hey, you old sport. Anyways, let's get down to business. So the synopsis here, I'm going to pull this up for Razor's Edge. It's a 1944 novel by W. Somerset Maugham. It tells the story of Larry Darrell, an American pilot traumatized by his experience in World War I, who sets off in search of some transcendent meaning in his life. The story begins through the eyes of Larry's friends and acquaintances as they witness his personality change after the war. Simplement. Shock. The story begins through his eyes of Larry's friends and acquaintances as they witness his personality change after the war. His rejection of conventional life and search for a meaningful experience allows him to thrive, while the more materialistic characters suffer reversals of fortune. I like this film. We'll just start off with that. And go with the synopsis. Okay, sickened by the violence and the fighting he has witnessed, in search of meaning, he travels to Paris, where he tries to live modestly. However, this leads to Larry's fiancée, the status-seeking Isabel, to break off the engagement. But Isabel returns to Larry's life when he becomes romantically involved with Sophie. When Larry becomes romantically involved with Sophie, Ann Baxter, a troubled alcoholic recovering from tragedy. So Sophie... Let's look at the characters. Control F. Childhood friend Sophie Nelson and her boyfriend Bob McDonald. So this is actually the Razor's Edge. It was 145 minutes, published in 1946, the first one. And then we have the Bill Murray version, which is what I watched on YouTube here for free. You know, it's amazing. Hey, Bill, I don't know if you think this is one of your best films or not, but nonetheless, I liked it very much. You know, the seal bit was really good. I love that. Okay. Elliot has plans for Larry's entree into elite Parisian society, none of which materialize. In Paris, Larry immerses himself in the life of a student, living in a modest neighborhood, frequently neighborhood bistros, biking through the countryside, and attending lectures at the Sorbonne. After a year, Isabel and her mother came to Paris and are met by Elliot. Elliot is surprised that Larry is to meet them. Okay, on and on and on. I'm not going to kill the whole thing. But Larry goes off to, works in a coal mine, while drunk, and then he goes to India, and then he goes to try to find enlightenment in the Himalayas, so Buddhism, and experiencing enlightenment on a mountaintop. The holy man urges Larry to go back to his people, but not to lose his awareness of the infinite beauty of the world and of God. Meanwhile, back in the States, the McDonalds are in a car crash caused by a drunk driver. Bob and the baby are killed. In the hospital, the doctor asks Gray to tell Sophie, who is distraught and must be heavily sedated. So she has a nervous breakdown, and then Elliot also the stock market crashed in 1929. Gray, who accompanies Larry in the updated version as an ambulance driver to the trenches of the First World War on the French and English side versus the Germans. Yes. I keep trying to shape this correctly. I know like there's a lot of special forces people spend a lot of time like this, and it makes me think of the imagery of Pat Tillman, and alpha males and what we do to each other. There we go. But also the treachery of women, which is an interesting part of this. Because what does the monk say? The monk says that it's a razor's edge to live. There's a very fine line. A very fine line between how am I supposed to go about this? So let's go I don't know, the meaning of the razor's edge. A dangerous position or position in which two different things are carefully balanced. So it could easily go either way. Razor's Edge, World War I. Okay, this is from Britannica. Philosophical novel by W. Somerset Maugham, published in 1944. The novel is concerned in large part with the search of meaning for life within the dichotomy between materialism and spirituality. Set in Chicago, Paris, and India in the 1920s and 30s, it involves characters from sharply different worlds. The main focus of the story is again on Larry David, which is Bill Murray's character, whom has returned from service as an aviator in World War I. Well, in this case, as they do a head nod in the movie with the biplanes, right? The Sopwith Camels, or Snipes, or Tiger Moths. I can't remember exactly what they were. Utterly rejecting his pre-war values, he is concerned chiefly with discovering the meaning of human existence and eliminating evil in the world. To that end, he spends 5 years in India seeking but not finding answers. And I was saying, I watched this movie with my buddy who, known each other since our teen years, and so it's like, I wanted him to involve him, but he had other stuff to do, and we were talking about how it reminds us of 7 years in Tibet, and I wonder if 7 years. Well, let's look at 7 years in Tibet. Biographical war drama directed by Jean-Jacques Anard is based on the memoirs mountaineer and Schutzstaffel Sergeant Henry Harrier's 1952 memoir of the same name about his experience in Tibet from 1994 to 1951. Peter Afshaner, our mountaineers 1930s. Harry and Alpenschnat escaped the prison and crossed the border into Tibet, tracing whatever. And that's another. Honestly, 7 Years in Tibet. If you ask me, Brad, that's one of your best movies, or in the people that are involved is a really really good movie in my books. Right. Um, what do I want to say about this? Well, the thing is that once you reach enlightenment, like this philosophical principle, enlightenment is waking up. Okay, as woke, which is the terminology that the ideological ideologues use right now in contemporary culture in 2024 and within the past decade, quite frankly, um, to describe people who are charlatans. Quite frankly, they believe themselves to be spiritually and culturally enlightened, but then they get into behaviors of bullying, harassment, and ostracization by using technology as a censor and as a means of not of distributing fake news, right? This is why the censorship bill is being tabled in the House of Commons right now. But the thing is that with if we're going to go on a tangent here, we're going to talk about enlightenment, and it's that live and let live, the golden rule, all these little these what's I per personyms, amorphisms, yeah, or amorphism in language, concise, and aphorism is a concise, terse, laconic, or memorable expression of a general truth or principle. And I've had a few aphorisms through the past couple of years doing this history of propaganda thing. And even this thing is that Prince, when you start speaking out and you start standing up, you're going to lose a lot of friends, but they weren't your friends to begin with. And then that's the thing, is that you think you know who the people, you think you know who values you and who actually cares about you, and then something bad happens, and then the true colors come out, right? And so okay, I'm me. I've had more than a few nervous breakdowns in my life, and obviously like some PTSD from nearly dying inside of an aircraft from asphyxiation, well, from suffocation, right? Compressing. Yeah, I'm telling you, that was a godly moment. Yeah, and then also surviving other traumatic events, which if not for split second decisions, I would be dead right now. I'd be dead, and no doubt about it. I would have rolled the car. The fucking toolbox would have gone forward, slammed me and my passenger right into the fucking dashboard or whatever else, and then I would have been either dearly deathly paralyzed, or wishing that I was dead or actually dead. That's how close my life has been to being snuffed out. And that's not an easy thing to come to terms with, because like one of the scenes in this, it's of course the Sophie meets her end, right? I'm not gonna tell you by how, but there's a switcheroo thing going on with Bob, right? And with Larry, because Bob was the Larry freezes a job. Larry's traumatized by the sacrifice of Piedmont. He can't work in a stockbroker's office or a law firm. I don't want a desk job. I can't. I don't. I don't even want to go near airplanes right now because of the because of the way that it is and the disrespect that happens, and the just I don't want to work. I don't want to work for fucking anybody right now. It's just you get burned out on the bullshit of other people. And I don't want to do these manual labor jobs or stuff like that anymore because I've been through that. I did my time, right? I did my time. It's my time to shine, quite frankly. So then I really identify with Larry here, um, having been through all this shit, and then picking myself up by my own bootstraps with very few resources, all the while still maintaining my artistic integrity. But there's other parts, if I didn't mention about the opium den, the drug use, and again materialism versus spirituality, which again I was trying to prod Larry Chen and Dino to talk about, because you fellas have a lot more access to these objects of desire, quite frankly, and to people that live in excess and have everything's handed to them on a silver platter, right? And Larry wants to find again the meaning of life, and he wants to know what life is outside of the easy peasy lifestyle. And we have such a gluttony of resources, and such huge wealth in North America in comparison to other places. And this is why people, they go on these spiritual journeys, and like the Beatles did in the 1960s. And it's just like I get it in that time, but we're talking about the post-internet epoch here, and when the internet started showing up in social media, internet 2.0, the interactive internet started showing up on people's phones, then the dating apps, and starting with Grindr, and then these games, the phone games, the high reward dopamine games that are basically scams, right? The online gambling and so on and so forth, and then the behavioral modification and usage of MK Ultra by marketers, and also by video game producers, quite frankly, that has entrapped so many people into digital prisons, right? So they don't know how to get out of these digital prisons. And Larry was in a prison, right? He was in a prison because when you're born into that world, that rich world where everything is done for you, right? Everything is just so laissez-faire, it's so easy, a life of leisure. Excuse me. Especially that the life that's shown of the aristocracy here, like a millionaire in the 1920s is a billionaire by today's standards. So never had to worry about anything, right? And he wanted after going through with the ambulance corps, he wanted something more. There's more to life than just money. And again, so a holy man urges Larry to go back to his people, not to lose his awareness. Again, this is off of Wikipedia, of the infinite beauty of the world and of God, right? God is in the machine, a deus ex machina. And the things that we create are not to be made into Moshiachs or saviors, or the Antichrist or whatever else. These false idols that we create that get in the way between true connection and relationships. This is the propaganda that I talk about. I'm starting to sound like a broken record after about 560 videos. I freaking sound like Sticks and Hammer. Right. And there's drinking. There's a problem with drinking because Sophie becomes a whore. She becomes a whore. And then Larry picks her up off the street when they go to the restaurant. And then the treachery between women happens. So like high society, I'm not against the rich. I'm not. I'm just against the ignorance and the sheltered nature and the paranoia that happens when you're at the top of the mountain, financially, or so in society, right? You become a target. More money, more problems, few friends, so many enemies, right? And I understand this. I get this. Um, as a person who's been observing and been on the outside quite frequently, you pay the price for being unique. You will always pay the price for being unique, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you might as well just live your life. It doesn't matter anymore what happened in the past, over the past 10 years or whatever it is, between me and, say, the art community here in London. It doesn't matter anymore. Sooner or later, I got to make my appearance and I got to contribute to this society, which is a responsibility of an artist and of every good person that exists. Get involved. It's a morphism. Uh, I want not a morphism, a phorism. I want to say a morphism. I always want to say a morphism for some reason. A maxim, right? Philosophical maxim as a simply a moral rule or principle. And again, I stuck by these principles as best I could, even when being harassed, frankly, by this point by the CRA, because the CRA wasn't going after these white collar criminals within the aviation world, especially the headhunters, quite frankly, because I don't really like them anymore, and the deals that they make and take advantage of people's ignorance and of their naivete. And so there's lots of reasons to fight back, because they're never, because things change throughout life, and you never know when some sort of event is going to happen where someone dies. And if you're not reading, you're not leading. What can I say? And it's a lot of times we don't have. There's a lot of times where we don't have a moment to even mourn people, or the loss of someone else, or the loss of a lifestyle. Mourning of a profession, or of, say, the death of the old world, the world that you grew up in doesn't exist anymore. And what's it? In the end, life is an act of letting go. Jan Martel. This is who it's credited to. Life of Pi. I suppose in the end, the whole of life becomes an act of letting go. But what always hurts the most is not taking a moment to say goodbye. Well, as the guy that's doing suicide prevention, there is such a thing as caring too much, and that's how you get taken advantage of. It's this fine line of this razor's edge when you're trying to help other people. The knife that cuts is the knife that saves. There's a duality of man, right? Our obsession with status and our requirements for love. So just further to talk this Kantian ethics. Maxims are understood as subjective principles of action. A maxim is thought to be part of an agent's thought process for every rational action, indicating in its standard form the action or type of action, the conditions under which it is to be done, and the end or purpose to be achieved by the action, or the motive. The maxim of an action is often referred to as the agent's intention. In Kantian ethics, the categorical imperative, if you don't know what the categorical imperative is the central philosophical concept of the deontological moral philosophy of Immanuel Kant. introduced in the groundwork of metaphysics of morals. It was a way of evaluating motivations for action. So trying to figure out why do we do what we do. And here's the thing is that philosophy precedes psychology. Okay, psychology didn't really, let's look at this. Psychology didn't really start evolving or coming to the forefront until 1854 in Leipzig, Germany, when Gustav Fechner created the first theory of how judgments about sensory experiences are made and how to experiment on them. So that's that whole René Descartes thing, right? And then questions about sense and sensory perception, right? We can't understand the world by using the mind because we use the mind to understand the world. So you can't exactly separate the objective from the subjective, but you can metaphysically imperatively categorize these things into understandable concepts. So as I said before, objectivity and then subjectivity, which leads to either not enough information in some cases and too much specification in the other. So specified into obscurity. Yeah, this was another thing we're watching this movie and talking about it is the hyper individualism of the 20th century and now the 21st century and the atomization that happens because of the tailored feeds, right? We are all within a echo chamber, and we are all within individualized, personalized prisons, quite frankly. So in order to break through to the other side, it takes work. It takes work because there's people out there that believe themselves to be intellectually, physically, genetically, and spiritually superior to the rest of us. And so as an artist, it is my responsibility to highlight these things and pontificate as the avant-garde here, okay, where we're going wrong. Because if we keep heading down this road, then we will be at each other's throats. We will be at each other's throats. Because some people, they want to profit off of war. They want to profit off of the suffering of other people because they believe that we want to suffer and that we should suffer because we don't believe the same things. And that is disgusting. It's truly disgusting. Shit. I'm going to point to my World Religions badge up there on my freaking Do Your Best award with my 1 bar, Lieutenant. When I was like 10 or 11 years old. You think that leadership starts when you become aware of it. But leadership starts with character. It starts with the person. You don't hire workers, right? You don't employ workers. You hire and you employ people, right? And so this separation and this detachment from humanity is one of the great flaws of Western society. And again, once you get to the top of the mountain, you just want to go back down to the bottom because there ain't no one else there. It's really exposed, and it's not easy to survive up there. And you become hardened from the isolation, right? You're not communicating with God or a metaphysical entity. What you're doing is you're going into monk mode, right? And I've done that. I did that for 7 years or more because it just didn't seem like it was productive to get into any kind of relationship after so many rejections and abuses and traumatic events. Subjected and put into these positions for money. And it almost feels like I betrayed who I was as a person and as an artist because what's the other aphorism? which is when rich people get together, they talk about art. Rich people. Okay, so Oscar Wilde, right? When bankers get together, they talk about art. When artists get together, they talk about money. You see, I listen. I've been listening for a very long time. I've been reading, and I've been watching. In order to bring a solution to not a final solution, let's back away from that fucking hot button, okay? Um, into a new equity, a new equality. But where we lose ourselves in the best intentions because of what other people want from us and what they want to take from us and how they want to snuff us out as creative people so as to further profit not only from our suffering and the drama and for the entertainment from the drama of our lives, right? Because that's the way it used to be. Sometimes people of wealth actually frequently will fuck with an artist and their lives. And I see this in Hollywood, right, where you have these couples, right, that are put on display as role models. Role models. Look at this. Don't look over here. Look at this. Look at this. In order to distract us from the dark, seedy underbelly that David Lynch demonstrates in Blue Velvet, you know, the symbolism of all this stuff, you know, because we don't live forever, and when we listen to junkies, we listen to junkies, right? And all they want is their fix, and their fix is to get off on the suffering of other people, because they want to bully. They can't move past the rage and the anger and the contempt. They're filled with this negative energy. And the only way that, you know, it's like a child having a temper tantrum for 15 years. And like I've already experienced this wealth and this gluttony through video games, especially the life lessons learned from playing Grand Theft Auto online. You know, you can buy your way in to being well off and having a lot of stuff, but it doesn't give you any more rewards out of life, right? You can rob the bank and you can have all this money, but then you're just fixated on this wealth and riches thing, right? Or of these high stakes games of sociopathy, right? Well, our culture loves sociopaths. We love sociopaths, right? Anytime that someone rises up to the occasion, say I'm going to use the Bonnie and Clyde, the urban legends, right? Or like say a bank robber that just goes around hitting up banks with a banana. Okay, non-violent criminals which give us entertainment and give us someone to root for because they're fighting the man, right, or whatever it is. And it's this balance between the orderly, so a nurse, and the disorderly, which is the sociopathic soldier. And that's why we love these tropes within movies from war movies or whatever, right? Because the woman. I'm in the middle of this something, okay?
I don't care if you're in the middle of something. Turn it down.
Turn it down?
Yes.
You're not as smart as me. Go back to bed.
Turn it down.
Go back to bed. He just made a fool of himself. Fuck. Now that I've lost my train of thought, we'll just end it right here. Just end it right here. What's to be learned from this movie or from this idea? Life is both longer and shorter than we think it is. So don't seek revenge. Don't try to manipulate other people. As I've said before, with another amorphism, aphorism, which is don't waste time. It's a waste of time to waste other people's time. It's a waste of time to spend your life antagonizing other people, or to seek revenge or control, right? For the purposes of oppressing and revenge, right? Historical, cultural, or spiritual. Anyways, yeah. Recap. I like this movie. Please watch The Razor's Edge. The Bill Murray one is the one that I watched. It's really good. But I encourage you to watch the older ones too, in order to understand the world as it was before the internet, and how much more our relationships were valued versus this moment in time, and how we have to find a solution to return to that. But it's not going to be easy because so many people make money off of the suffering of others, right? P.T. Barnum or whatever it is. A sucker's born every minute, and it's not my fault that they just want to see they want to be part of the scam. They want to be taken. They want to be shown something that they've never seen before. And by golly, we're going to give them just that. Thanks for watching. Damn it.